There we go. And we are live. Clean these off. Ooh. Peace. Peace to the family. Peace, y'all. Oh, man, it's so good to be back. Peace. There we go, 44. Peace. Yeah, so good to be back with news that you can use to not be confused. Get a sip. Whew. Yeah, it's kind of brick out here in Atlanta today, so we had to put some of the drip on. Well, my baby inspired me.
I did?
Yeah, you had the drip on first, and I was like, what? You ain't stepping on me. Not stepping on me, not, like stepping out. Like, oh, you stepping. Oh, you ain't gonna step out on me, not stepping on me.
No, I ain't gonna step without you.
Step without me. So I seen she had that shit on. I was like, matching boots with jacket and lip shade.
Ooh.
Okay. You think I ain't see even in the dark? Okay.
No, you was peeping.
I had peeped at it, huh? So I was like, let me compliment and put some shit on so I could put you on camera. They don't want to see me.
No, you don't be getting my angle.
Yeah, I'm still on I'm on angle assignment until I figure out the angles. I'm not pre-approved to just pop cameras on her.
You don't be getting my angles and my lighting right.
Yeah, I don't get the angles and the lighting right. You know what I'm saying?
That's Mariah Carey over here. I'm a diva, y'all. I'm in remission. I'm working on it.
She's working on it. But it's, yeah. She feeds me, and then I'm able to feed y'all. Then I turn around, I gotta feed her, though.
You feed me.
Yeah, that's another story. But
Ashe.
then she feed me back, and then I'm able to give y'all some good energy. You know what I'm saying? This is how we show our gratitude. It's reciprocated. And then they be like, happy wife, happy life. And then now I know what they mean, because then I could be happy and give y'all happy news, even though sometimes if you feel that the news that I'm giving might not be in the highest spectrum of happiness, you know what I'm saying? I am one that tend to believe that I will endure good, bad, ugly, and indifferent to get to a state of peace. So, often what we're missing, right, in terms of information is also the philosophy that goes along with the information that gives us a different sort of designation from how other people operate. Like when I look at politics, I understand that majority of politics is tied to somebody's philosophy. And that's why I make it a point to speak like to all assets or all aspects of what goes into politics, like what's the undercurrent of the news. So we just hear politics, but all politics is tied into religion, right? And that's not just me being subjective. That's not just me being in my feelings about what may have happened to our people under the thumb of all monotheistic religions, not just Christianity. So I could speak about the Moors, I could speak about Morocco, but I'm not defending Arabism. I don't defend Islam in terms of what it has done to indigenous melanated people, right? I as a reporter, I'm I think the word is partial or impartial,
Prophesy.
right? I don't necessarily pick sides, right? But I have to report a story, and I do have an agenda, but I do not want the agenda always to spill into my reporting. And my agenda is clear. I want us to be victorious. I want us to, like, I don't want us just to dress the part. I want us to actually live the part. I don't just want us to, imaginary feel that we're royalty and kings and queens. This shit has to match up. You feel me? The shit has to match up with our actions, with the response to our actions, with the manifestation that is tied into our actions. But in order to be responsible for our actions and what we manifest, then we have to speak about the subconscious undercurrents, right? What is going on in our shadow self? What's going on in the darkest crevices of our minds? Is there some shit that we are really attempting to suppress and overlook and ignore just for the sake of enjoying whatever semblance of comfort is being marketed to you, right? Because they're marketing these aspects of comfort, like, oh yeah, you could get a particular credit score or move to this neighborhood, right? Or marketing, you might even think that they say, if you drive this car, if you put on this, if you put on this European brand, for the women, if you carry this particular bag, right, then we won't treat you like the rest of them, right? These become the cultural markers to indicate that you are, that you're cultured in the game, that you not only understand the game, and not only that you're playing the game, right, but you are also expressing a level of allegiance to it, right? They can turn their back on you and don't have to worry about, they could allow you in the house and turn their backs on you. I sat through 2+ grueling hours of watching Will Smith in Emancipation because as a reporter, I did it so you wouldn't have to, right? I did it so you wouldn't have to, and I felt that it was very necessary because I am a fan of the director Antoine Fuqua and his cinematography, also how he contributes to the narrative, because he has made some very key films that are part of our cultural zeitgeist. In particular, is he's made key films that are key to my observations dealing with the Law 44. He was genius enough or cunning enough, right, to create a character in Training Day called Lonzo. And Lonzo was based after Rafael Perez, who was the officer at the heart of the Rampart scandal out in Los Angeles, but he also happened to be the officer implicated for killing Big. You know what I'm saying? He was the officer implicated for killing B.I.G. initially, and hip hop applauded him because he was the bad guy. They applauded Lonzo or Lorenzo, whatever his name was in Training Day. And Denzel got a Grammy for it. So Denzel gets a Grammy for portraying the man that was responsible for taking the greatest rapper. Shit crazy. But yesterday we were speaking about, I was producing receipts about what's going on with Christianity in particular. And again, not coming at it just as a reporter to explain what is going on in the cultural zeitgeist and why you might see these different culture wars taking place. And politics, once again, is tethered to religion because law, right? All legal systems, especially in this country, the legal system is tied into religion. by way of common law, right? All law is supposed to come out of the ecclesiast, okay? And the fact that they market this country as a Christian country, right? At least what they have what they have leached onto is Christian law, canon law, and then now it is codified and commercialized in the form of UCC. So we no longer operate under Christian law, we operate under Roman civic law, which was adopted in the early 1800s when they acquired the state of Louisiana in the Louisiana Purchase. At that time, Napoleon was implementing maritime or Roman civic law, right? And when they adopted it, when they acquired the territory of Louisiana, right, they got that particular that civic law, that maritime law, and they used a federal territory such as Louisiana, and they covered it across the country by way of bringing maritime, or the law that is reserved for the open seas. They brought that on the land, on the surface, so the continental America is designated as being underwater, right? And that's how they've operated thus far in fiction on what's considered to be land or real estate. And that's not how they really operate, you know. So interestingly enough, some of these articles started popping up like right away about what's going on with Christianity in this country, and the fact that for the first time ever, it's falling underneath the 50% line, and they're saying that it's going to die here in this country. This is the country, ironically, where they're saying that Christianity will meet its fate. Just based on the numbers, right? Mathematically, it can't survive. And it's very interesting that they're making these observations at this particular time, right? And it also coincides or comes at the same time that they are attempting to rebrand the Catholic Church in particular. Right? Christianity as a whole, but specifically they're saying the Catholic Church. Let me see. All right, I got it on the iPad. Yeah. So this article here, right? This just came out the other day. You feel me? And you'll notice once again, and my lady can attest to this Paul character keeps showing up in every other story, whether it's in the movies or these stories or these narratives. This entity keeps popping up. The reinvention of the Catholic Church. Scandals have taken a toll and faith is flagging in Europe and the U.S., but Catholicism isn't on the wane. It's changing in influential ways, right? So you'll see they got the Pope trying to navigate, all of these different concentric wheels, right? He's spinning the wheels like it's the Wheel of Fortune, right? And people might be, especially the younger generation, they be like, who the hell is the Pope? Like, why is that such a big deal? And they don't understand that it's the caucasity of the Catholic Church, that they are on this planet, right, running a roost, saying that this is the vicegerent between God and the planet and the earth. This is his middleman. And that institution is the home of where the highest spiritual power on this planet exists. The Creator itself calls that place home. We know that to be a lie, right? Survey says that's a lie, right? So just the caucasity of it, that there still is an institution today that's responsible for insurmountable pain on the planet, destroying entire civilizations, the destruction of species, the destruction, you know what I'm saying, of ecosystems, and then just the professing, just the degradation and the destruction that they have done to the sanctity of the name of Christ by putting themselves next to that entity and not living up to any of its tenets whatsoever, right? How can you be a clearinghouse for rapists? To this day, the very people who the people of the planet have to entrust their trust in to be the middle people between them and their creator is the very institution that is taking advantage of that trust, destroying that trust, taking advantage of that trust, usurping that trust, defying that trust, right? And utilizing Christ as a throughway, as an entryway to harm people, to do the opposite. And then nobody's answering for that. And then if the people are not answering for that, do you think that you're going to make a mockery of the creator and think that that will never be condemned or answered, or you know what I'm saying? Like, nobody has to pay for that at all. And there is cases where there's been repetitious priests that have been accused of over 3,000 abuses. Yeah, the hypocrisy factor. And once again, just like with the Jewish people, and the fact that you can't be anti or philo, meaning you can't speak about them in a negative way, and they said you can't speak about us in a positive way either. Nigga, we consider that disrespectful. It's the same with this institution. And it's the same with Islam, right? That the hypocrisy that Saudi Arabia represents as a regime, as the ruling party, that you would be the home to a sanctified religion with a sanctified, you know what I'm saying, prophecies and prophets in a sanctified book. And you would attach the name holy to something that exists in the land that's so unholy based on its inhabitants and the people who are at the power structure, who are murderers, terrorists, usurpers, you name it. And they doing that under the disguise of religion, right? Destroying the sanctity of these institutions for people who really want to get in contact with their creator through these means and methods that have been introduced to them. For many of them, that has been forced upon them. So even as we look at Morocco on this very day, itching closer and closer, you know, hopefully there was victory, defeating France. You know what I'm saying? How symbolic that would be. You know, even with all of that being done and said, we know that there's a black eye on all of this because we know that that's not the Morocco of yesterday. You feel me? And we know that the blight that exists there is not just one, you know, that that France has to share alone, right? But it also, you know, is something that the Arab invaders have to share as well. You know what I'm saying? So nobody really is exempt from taking a seat at the table and having to hear not necessarily our grievance, but you can't duck from your own history. You dig what I'm saying? Like, you can't duck from your own history. And there should never be a time on the planet where anybody should be allowed to operate and move as if they're most important than us. Right? We either level the playing field or we destroy that concept that you have more of a right to whatever you claim to have a right to, you feel me, than us. And you cannot allow nobody to move around the planet and feel that way against you because it's detrimental. The same way that they're speaking about them being hurt and their mamas being hurt. My mama told me that I was the one. So anybody who does anything contrary to that, it's going to hurt her feelings as well. So why are you not concerned about my mama's tears? To me, nobody's tears are more important. And we should all feel that way. So, that always going to bring us into conflict with the myth, with the lies, with people who are sitting in seats that don't belong to them and then turning their nose up as if they don't want to hear their own history. Like, this ain't my history, nigga. This is your history. How can you run from it? Good morning. Morocco can end European and South American dominance over the World Cup. So this, to them, this is a big deal. This is more than about politics. This is more than just about history. You know what I'm saying? This games that are being played and how it has aligned and lined up. And when everybody stopped the dancing and the musical chairs stopped, they was able to reevaluate the historical significance of the symbolism of what just took place on like 4 or 5 different levels. Yeah. You're not going to continuously tell my people that we're worth multi-quadrillions of dollars because each one of you was trillionaires, right? Let's get that clear. So if it's 45 million of us, you got to times that times however many quadrillions you see yourself worth. I got a coin that's $44 quadrillion market value. That's not my value. That's just my coin. You feel me? So I ain't putting no motherfucking number on my value. What's your value? When we run that up, that's our collective value. That's the body of Christ. That's our body politics. That's where we come in valuing ourselves. That if you say that your black lives matter so much, nigga, what's the value of it? What's the valuation of your black life that matters so much? Because now you're talking financial terms, right? How can something matter if you don't know the worth of it? And how can you not know the worth of something if you don't know the value? So you shortchanging yourself once again by utilizing terms that don't have no weight attached to them. So no one's taking you for serious because it's not landing nowhere. But if it was real, if it was backed up by something, if your word was really your bond and it was bonded to something, you know what I'm saying, that something collateral based, then people will have to take you for serious. Because they're like, oh, you really thought this out. Okay? This year's World Cup would be different now that Morocco has qualified for the semifinals, the first African country to get this far in the tournament. Morocco will play France, the reigning champion, tomorrow. The other semifinal match today is another European and South American affair, Croatia versus Argentina. Right? Argentina plays very key to the script. I'm sure Croatia does as well. But if we're looking for the historical value of this, let's look at Argentina and what they represent. If Morocco beats France, it will be the first country outside of Europe and South America to make it to the final. Okay? Self-fulfilling prophecy. Today's newsletter will look at why 2 continents have dominated the world's most popular sport for so long. Right? History is reflected in today's World Cup. The tournament was a European invention, first held in 1930 by soccer's global governing body, FIFA, right, after disagreements with the Olympics handling. So in the 30s, when they didn't like how soccer was being dealt with by the Olympics, they went and formed their own shit. In the 30s, we wasn't liking how we was being dealt with Jesse Owens and shit, and we was popularizing Adidas or giving them the starting traction of which ultimately they would start off Adidas just to put their foot in our ass in 2022, courtesy of what's considered our most vocal representative, right? Yay. Right? Because remember, they bunch all niggas in together until you make some money. Right? Because of its historical success in soccer, South America also has more infrastructure than other continents to develop players and host top-notch competitive leagues. In other way, what the self-fulfilling prophecy has played out. Public interest matters too. The U.S. is a very wealthy country, but it has historically done poorly at the World Cup. That trend is partly explained by Americans' apathy towards the sport. A star athlete in the U.S. is more likely to follow the culture, fame, and money to say American football instead of soccer, right? So they're saying that America does not incentivize, enough of its soccer programs. So what the fuck is a soccer mom? And why does every suburb have them, right? Like, why is that term synonymous with America itself? Because I don't hear them talking about soccer moms anywhere outside of this bitch. So how's it not something that our people even, you know what I'm saying? So changing times. Is Europe's and South America's grip over soccer easing? Morocco's success is one sign that it may be, right? So if 2022 was nothing else, 2022 was the year of the colonizer, right? 2022 was the year that the colonizer got a close-up. All of the colonizers almost got a front, like almost like a audit almost. You feel me? Everybody got to go through their books. Everyone got a opportunity to revisit each one of these monarchs. You know what I'm saying? Each one of these people who are responsible for some sort of colonizer conquest, whether it be the British with the Queen when she transitions, right? Whether it be the Jewish people, right? And all of the different empires they was connected to, whether it be the Roman Empire during the times of Christ, allegedly. Well, historically, we understand that they existed during that time, and in that region, allegedly, these were the things that were taking place, right? Their connection to the Russian and the Prussian empires, right, and their existence in the Khazars and those regions over there, as well as the Holy Roman Empire in Germany, where the Ashkenazis originally hailed from, right? And the connection during that time with the Moors, their existence in the Iberian Peninsula under Moorish empires and rulers, right? For a 700-year period of which they was allowed to practice their religion freely in a cosmopolitan setting, and they was even developing their jewelry under that particular time, right? So all of this stuff has historical overtones. You're the only one missing at the seat at the table. Everyone's talking about you because you was at the crux of this entire part. These Moors that are playing soccer for Morocco were not the Moors that you should pop a picture up in your mind when we're speaking about the time when the Moors ruled Europe from 700 AD to 1492, okay? This was not a time of Arab domination. Okay, this is when melanated people were on the scenes, right? When it was understood Arabia, which was part of Africa, right? Or as Wesley Muhammad calls it, Afrabia, right? It was melanated. There's mad historical records, written records, artistic records, art, right? All sorts of stuff that speaks specifically to who was in that region at that given time. And it was melanated people specifically. So when you hear the word Arab, once again, just like when you hear the word Shemite, understand that those are linguistic terms. They're speaking about language, not people. Okay? Arabic is a language. You feel me? So these are not necessarily the ethnic racial identities that might pop up in your mind. Once again, when you hear these names, right? So global dominance, self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, so once again, just to understand the historical significance, like when the Super Bowls happen and we do the decoding of the Super Bowl, right, and explain the symbolic significance of what these teams represent in a sporting event that garners some of the most attention on the planet. Attention is currency. You know, forget the part that people are betting on it and they're making currency on the actual game. The people who are pooling that particular energy understand that there's a collective energy, almost like an egregor, that's over this game because it represents a concentrated consortium of billions of minds who are actively engaged and involved in a sporting event that some of these niggas even think that they're playing in real time from their couch. Right? That's how much their sentience, that's how much their feelings, their energy is engaged and involved in this game. If you want to do any high level sorcery, nigga, that's the time that you do it. Right? But also if you want to see how energy coalesces into symbolism in the sport of a game and plays out what this energy can look like, then you will make that observation. Case in point, and this is why we're able to track the Super Bowl utilizing certain numerics like the number 44. Let's take this last Super Bowl, played on the 44th day of the year on February 13th in Los Angeles, which is a city. Specifically, no other city is a city like Los Angeles. Not only was it founded by 44 people of Afro-Mexican descent, right? Afro-Mexican. Now, go ahead and let them try to explain that shit to you. They're going to tell you some shit about slavery, right? But these people look like Lapita. Okay? 44 of them founded Los Angeles. And then Los Angeles is a city that was incorporated on April 4th, right? So there 44, ain't no other 44 city like LA. And there's a few 44 cities, but Los Angeles takes the cake, right? So automatically I'm inclined to look for the 44 team is going to be the one in the 44th city on the 44th day that's going to take it home. So that entire Super Bowl was so symbolizing 44s. Again, either I'm making this shit up or I'm Illuminati. And I'm on the inside just pulling fucking strings. Because how else can you explain the way that them 44s played out in that goddamn game all the way down to the halftime? Right? But the narrative and the story that it was telling was what? Okay? It was the LA Rams versus the versus the Bengals, the Cincinnati Bengals. So we know with the Rams, you know what I'm saying? Well, let's just go straight to Cincinnati and let's go to the Bengals. It was the year of the Tiger, right? It was the year of the Bengals. You feel me? But, you know, like, we ain't Chinese, you know what I'm saying? And when you really look at what Cincinnati represents, Cincinnati is Rome. Cincinnati is called the city of seven hills. It is part of Nueva Rome. It's part of the new Rome or the new world over here, right? Like they got the new Egypt, they got new Rome, they got a whole bunch of shits over here. Cincinnati is, you know what I'm saying? That's their operating base, or one of them, a key one. So, you know, we always looking for Rome to lose in the Super Bowls. You feel me? And in stellar fashion, they lost this one as well. And just a few days after that, you know, when we saw the war pop off, immediately after that, within the same month, okay, Russia runs up in Ukraine. Now, because the Rams won the Super Bowl, right? And we understand the Rams represent the astrological New Year as opposed to the what's considered to be the Chinese astrology, or what the Bengals represented with that New Year. Okay? We like, oh, Ukraine has the same colors as the Rams. They not finna be losing no war. And you can Google today, because I said it the day of the war and the day after it and been saying it ever since. Who's winning the war? And can you explain it? Is it rational? No, you can't. Right? You couldn't explain it if you tried to. Well, you got to give all the credit to the CIA, because you can't explain it any other way. How they be in Russia? But they whooping them. Okay? So that's directly tied to the energy of what the Rams represented in the Super Bowl. That gold and that blue, or that yellow and that blue. I mean, of course, it's layered, so it goes deeper than that as well. But on the surface, we can see the symbolism there. So at the same time, when you're looking at a game like this, a football game that's generating billions and billions and billions of views, and people's emotions is way deeper into this than it is NFL American football. You feel me? Way deeper than this, right? They are emotionally involved and engaged in this game and what it means on a global stage. You know what I'm saying? So they're speaking about this particular team represents on 3 different tiers major accomplishments, right? They say Morocco is the most Pan-African country, okay, in the series. They say that the coach in particular, who was born in France, the Moroccan coach who was born in France, he's being heralded and held up for his Pan-Africanness, right? And their idea of Pan-Africanism might be slightly different from what your idea of Pan-Africanism is. But nonetheless, this is how they are identifying and designating and hoisting themselves up, in this particular conflict. This is how they choose to self-identify themselves and find their identity in the midst of all of this. So they're doing it for Africa. They're doing it for the Arab Muslims. And they're doing it as a show of unity, specifically around Palestine, to defy Israel. And the thing about politics and sports and the way that it intersects is that they're allowed to utilize the sport and event to express their solidarity for Palestine and voice their distrust of Israel. But on the political spectrum, they're also protesting the government of Morocco, who has partnered with Israel and defied the Arab allegiance in the area. You know what I'm saying? And that they consider to be a political decision. It's a threat to their coalition. So politically wise, they don't fuck with Morocco as an Arab unit at this point. They're sour at them because of the decisions that they made to align themselves with the Jewish people. But from a fanatical sports symbolic, we gonna beat them on this field approach, you feel me? They are all unified, and they're utilizing this stage and this platform to show solidarity for Palestine, which is a gilded middle finger up to Israel and its European allies that are going to be in those stands represented by these games. And all of them are expressions of the hegemony of dictatorships and empire and all of this shit that's been going on since Christendom has been crusading over in Europe. Right? Or even prior to that, because when we speak about France, you're talking about the Gauls. So you're talking about usurpers that predate, long time predate Christendom. Christendom or Christianity doesn't turn into Christendom until Constantine comes in contact with it, and he was the Roman emperor at that time. So he was the first one to merge church and state, and he utilizes religion to make it a arm for empirical conquest. He was already knocking shit over, right, with Rome as an empire, right, doing conquest, Then he comes into contact with Christianity by way of a supernatural apparition. Remember, there was 2 events in Christianity that made Christianity what it was. And both of them was attributed to 2 supernatural occurrences that were identical. And those was apparitions that 2 key figures come into contact with, both times on the road on asses, pause, donkeys, pause, or horses. I guess in the case of Constantine, but Constantine, he comes into contact with the apparition of the spirit, apparently of Jesus. He said, conquer in this sign, and he shows him the cross, right? And he has a conversion right there, and he adopts Christianity, and he becomes the first Roman emperor to do so. And he combines the quest to spread the name of Jesus, the Prince of Peace. He combines it with his empirical conquest energy, and now he conquers it, and then he spreads it with the sword, right? Spreads it with the sword, and that's where that shit starts, right? That's when the empire aspect, of what the Church of Rome will come to represent. That's when this shit kicks off. And then the other apparition is when Paul, on the road to Damascus, encounters a apparition and turns from Saul to Paul. He has a conversion or transformation. He goes scorpionic. He's the symbolism, the symbolic rendering, if you will, of what a Scorpio represents. He went through the transformation and went from a killer of Jews, of Jewish people, to now a fellow Christian, a friend of Christ, and ultimately provides all of the script that ultimately was known today as Pauline Christianity, which is the dominant Christianity on the planet, right? Of which Catholicism it comes under that umbrella. So, and they're all running with the cloth. The cloth is called the Bible. It was written by Paul. The crux of it, the majority of it, right? And he did a bunch of other stuff. He brought all of the mysticism in, what's considered to be the pagan traditions, the Eucharist, and a whole bunch of other stuff, because he was looking to convert, laymen, people, a larger swath of population. And he you have to work with them. He put them on a game, you know what I'm saying, and showed them how to get everybody into game. He was a Scorpion, So here we are trying to undo some of the shit that he did, right? So the symbolism of these games are profound and what they represent, and just the narrative so far, you know what I'm saying, about what this game has even thus forth, shown with the beating of before they beat Spain, before Morocco beat Spain, I think they beat Portugal as well, right? It was another one of them bastards. Was it the Dutch? Right? It was whoever else they beat, right? All of those people have an integral part to play when you go back in history to what happened with the Moors during that time in that particular region. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, well, these are not the Moroccans of the days of law that we're speaking of. You feel me? And you ain't the Aboriginal, Indigenous, African, Asiatic, or whatever else that you call yourself of those days either. You're a different version of yourself today as well. Right? But history's still history. And we still seem to be rebounding from the lessons of those days that we have not yet heeded, right? We got a big history test that very recently that showed us that. It's like, all right, you still got something to learn from this, you know what I mean? You didn't get it all situated and figured out as of yet. Look, shout out to the family in Richmond. I wish I had the Facts Initiative song to cue up, but wherever you at, you can hear it in your head. Today was the removal of the last Confederate monument in Richmond. You know what I'm saying? So when we're talking about how far we've come, right? And the fact that this nation continue to tell you that they don't negotiate with terrorists, but they got Confederate monuments up all around this country paying homage to the people who were seditionists that went to war against this country, who terrorized this country, you feel me, who had the nerve to spill the blood of their fellow citizen here on this soil. You know what I'm talking about? It just took minutes to free the statue of Confederate General A.P. Hill from its base before a crane using yellow straps looped under the statue's arms lifted it onto a bed of tires on a flatbed truck. After the statue was removed, the crew got to work removing the base. Several dozen people, including neighbors of some of Hill's indirect descendants, as well as supporters and opponents of the removal, stood in the closed intersection watching the crew work. Richmond removed its other federal monuments amid the racial justice protests that followed George Floyd's killing in 2020. But efforts to remove the Hill statue, which sat in the middle of a busy intersection near a school, were more complicated because the general's remains were interred beneath it about 25 years after his death in the Civil War. So not only was they utilizing this cocksucker, right, as someone that they was paying homage to, who probably was sitting on a key ley line, but they had the niggas' remains in that shit. Sitting at an intersection, right, reminding melanated people who are the dominant presence in that city how they feel about them and what they was willing to do to keep them under suppression so they could keep their pockets lined and keep their economy going and flourishing. And rich men, this rich mound, and it's the home to a bunch of rich men who still are living off of old money from times of slavery, and nothing ever interrupted that particular, you know what I'm saying, situation. And if you've been down there, if you're from down there, you know what we talking about. But shout out to the family in Richmond, you know what I'm saying? We galloped through there and did our thing. So it's very key to see the last monument come down. We were very much beating the drum about that when we was out there. Shout out to the museum that's down there. Damn, what was they called? I forget the name, but they in Jackson Ward. Y'all know what I'm talking about, in the old armory. And they had a whole photo display, detailing and breaking down, you feel me, that whole process in 2020 when they said they were once again symbolically taking the statues down, and they just wasn't removing them. They was putting nooses around their necks. They was dragging them. They were violating these statues on purpose, through an act of defiance by way of symbology, through symbolism, just to show the Confederate how they felt about them, right? Because George Floyd had them in their feelings, and they was really, really ready in 2020 to let the colonizer know what they really felt about him. Feel me? So, many Confederate statues in Virginia were erected decades after the Civil War during the Jim Crow era, when states imposed new segregation laws, and during the Lost Cause movement, when historians and others tried to depict the South's rebellion as a fight to defend states' rights, not slavery. Some Confederate tributes remain in Richmond, but they're on state land, including on Capitol Square, right? Surrounding the Virginia State Capitol building. Yes, that, and where where the governor stays, right? Which it looks like, no, that's not Monument Row, but right over there where the governor's, you know, and regardless of whether they move the statues or not, once again, that city is a cultural institution as a reminder that it was the home of the Confederacy, and the underlying energy of those sentiments still exists in that city. They're alive and they're well. You feel me? And they permeate throughout the state, and they exist on the other side of that goddamn bridge, you know, where the district sits, and legislation is still made. So, you know, that energy is really pretty much still there. But back to Christianity, I want to get into this narrative and these news is, you know, this news that just came out because it was very interesting, the timing of it. You know, these people is really hurting. That's some deep. We're gonna get into that too. Yeah, Donald Trump is finished. Let me see. Oh, hackers planted evidence. Yeah, they killed some priests up in India. They locked some Catholic priests up. They wasn't trying to hear that shit. They was over there playing with children. They was like, nah, son, we ain't going for it. And they died up in their prisons. You know, now the Pope in them is crying, complaining. But they continue to send these weaponized entities, you know, out across the world to wreak havoc. Right? Pope warns he has seen, right? This nigga came with the doom and gloom mask the other day. Right? He came with the doom and gloom mask. And now he's spreading fear. Now he's saying this shit is about to get apocalyptic, right? Again, the more that you press on them, the more light that goes on them, the more bodies that are starting to drop. You know what I'm saying? The more the economy starts to tilt. And people start asking questions about, you know, these finances. Here they go. Right? So on the same day that I was giving my 33rd presentation, it was very high vibrational. He's over there, you know, with the omens of mass destruction and desolation on the day of the 33rd sermon that we did call Master Builder. All right? This is what the Pontiff of Peace had to say. You know, and like people would ask, well, what is the validity of the monarchy? You know, what do we still need them for? I would say it's the same as about the Pope. Like, well, what do we need? Because post-COVID, it just exposed the whole shit, you know, like, and exposed the whole shit. What do we need them for? If you can't stand up, if the blood of Christ don't work against a little virus, nigga, and CMOS did, what we need y'all for? We go get some CMOS. The Mass was commemorating the feast of Our Lady Guadalupe. Now, boom, this Mass commemorated that feast, right? So my 33rd sermon also coincided with the spotting of Virgin Mary to a young man named Saint Juan Diego in 1531 in Mexico City. She ain't waste no time with these niggas. That day is a national day in Mexico. She was that sighting right there was responsible, they said, for the conversion of the majority of Latin America. After this apparition appeared, this is another apparition. Christianity is precipice, it's motherfucking, its foundation is spiritual apparitions and sightings, niggas. Nothing physical. All of they shit is the most vainglorious supernatural shit ever. Some nigga dissipated and went against the flow of gravity and went into the sky. Another nigga supposed to come down on a horse through the air, through the Van Allen belt, past the motherfucking ozone layer, you know what I'm saying, and make it through all of the missiles that are trained at the atmosphere to show up as your motherfucking Messiah. I'm saying, y'all ask enough questions. Y'all ask enough questions. And if the Hubble and the James Webb telescope can see back to the Big Bang, where's heaven at? And how long does it take to get from there to here? Right? And if the satellites is up there looking at everything and they're like, we don't see nothing from then are we led to believe that the second coming is not going to happen in our lifetime because it had already been picked up by satellite? Anyway, because it is a moving object, right? That's what they told you, niggas. He got some hell of a spacesuit, man. How he gonna keep his hair all stringy and shit? I hope he don't wet that shit in the shower before he decide to come down here. Or he gonna show up and shit gonna be puffy. That's why they like he got a head full of wool. Cause that stringy ass hair that Caesar Borgia have on, if he's flying through the motherfucking space like Superman to get here, yeah, that shit gonna look real puffy by the time he get to the anyway. In his homily, the pontiff said, I can't even say that. You know, there's only one Pope Pablo. Let me say that. Said, it's a bitter time filled with the rumbling of war. So you don't say. Growing injustice, famine, poverty, and suffering. So, nigga, you got some work to do. But at this bleak and disconcerting time, he's throwing the white towel in. There are omens of even greater destruction and goddamn, nigga. This nigga done read the financial report for 23. So, shit, I'm going to tell you like this. Fuck owing debt. You need to get you some Novatech, man. Don't put your trust in Christ, because these niggas done thrown the towel in. Jesus did not come and intercede this nigga's message and tell him, hold on, homie, there's greater times coming. I'm seeing greener pastures. Either this nigga speaking for himself or he's speaking for God. Either which way, you need to get the fuck out the way and make you some contingency plans, my nigga, right? The Pope don't want no motherfucking smoke for what's coming. He added to that Christmas, damn, you destroyed, damn, nigga. He ain't even commercializing Christmas for these niggas. He ain't even tell you this shit on January 1st. He wanted to tell you this shit during the Christmas holiday season. You fucking bank up. He added that at Christmas, God's divine love and his coming down to us tell us that this too is a propitious time of salvation in which the Lord, through the Virgin Mother, continues to give us his son. How? She's still pushing? What? He urged the Vatican congregation to get involved. I don't get it, man. Y'all know that God was a one-time parent, right? And he was a single parent. He ain't got no grandkids. What is he going to tell you about raising children if he ain't make it out of one generation? And I'm not saying this to be disrespectful, y'all. I just think about this shit to make it make sense, and I'll be like, let me bring this to the people because y'all might have not been freed up long enough to think about shit like this. I'm telling you, this is what they're telling you. And you falling for it. And God don't got a mother, but he's supposed to understand how we feel when we lose ours. Right? Or he gonna tell you how to take care of a woman and he never showed you evidence of it. Right? God don't got no squallies. Man. And I'm over here doing the best I motherfucking can. Because I ain't had no good example. So, yeah, I figured this shit out. I'm better than God. Because I did this shit with no examples. And this nigga, his oversight is immaculate. Like, he don't see blind sights. He might be one of them people. And geniuses go through that. They don't see the blind sights. And because he think that the devil's in the detail, he's overlooking the finer parts of shit. That niggas like me that are scorpions, we see all of the shit that you missed. And that's why we make the best, we ask the best questions. Because I'm seeing shit this like, yo, that was a major oversight in your script. And then I'm tapping into the Paul part of me and I'm like, I would have written a better story than this. I would have written a better story than this because you ain't think this all the way through. Because I could dismantle your shit with 3 questions. And there's nothing that you can do to get out of the box that I could put you in. You feel me? And it's like game over. Like for real, for real. I'm just warming up. Anyway. The pontiff recounted the Bible verse from John 3:16. I gave y'all all 11 verses on Sunday, though. Remind, please. I out pontiff the pontiff. Right? The pontiff recounted the Bible verses from John 3:16. God, who so loved the world, sent us his son, born of a woman, so that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. Right? But your son got killed. And he got washed up by a regular nigga. He survived the devil to get washed up by a regular nigga. And it's like, how he couldn't see that? So, because God don't see certain blind sides, his son didn't see certain blind sides either. How you let the nigga poke you on the side with a spear? You not watching your blind side. You supposed to be like, nah, nigga. And what's that nigga's last name? Because his bloodline, we should be able to go to see the evidence of how bad the luck has been in his bloodline. But if them niggas are sitting pretty, then maybe earth is not the dominion of God the way that they told you it was. Because check this out. God sent Satan and his 33% of angels here first. So they got the drop. Because this nigga is the most highly intelligent nigga. So the minute he gonna get here, he's gonna secure all of the power centers. He's gonna map the terrain out and he's gonna lay traps. Then he sent a man and a woman to the garden after the other cunning niggas is here laying up traps. The girl is game goofy. She don't know nothing. The nigga shows up and shows her his anaconda. She never seen an anaconda before. And the anaconda started talking, right? And then it was like Bob for apples. It was... She got finessed out the gate by a nigga who showed her his Johnson before the nigga that she came with. And she chose up off the break. And he's like, I told you don't ever eat from that tree. You know what I'm saying? But she was like, you ain't tell me it was an anaconda, though. So he set his own children up. He's always setting his children up. Right? And I asked this question of myself the other day. I'm like, do the niggas who was born after Jesus get grandfathered in? Because it wasn't their fault that they got born after Jesus, because God had to have this shit structured in timeline. You know, like with NFTs where they get airdrops and late releases. You had to have known in the script you was going to introduce Jesus in season 3. So the niggas in season 1 and 2, they can't be responsible for coming down here and then you didn't give the redemption option, right? The redemption token wasn't available for niggas to invest in. You feel me? So how they gonna option the redemption token if it was never available to them? So you are penalizing people for opting to be born before you send a savior into the world. Do them niggas get grandfathered in? Because it's like a trillion of them. And them niggas had a concept and an idea of what God was. And for them to develop that without God properly introducing him to them, that was a setup. And that God is a motherfucker, y'all. Yeah. Anyway. Look, I used to do interviews, y'all. I was on the red carpet, nigga. I've interviewed Kermit and made him answer. Had a full blown interview with the nigga too, man. I used to do interviews. You know. So I think about shit from a different angle, you know. So I had to become my own pope because I would never get an answer if I didn't start speaking to myself. So I put the shit on so I could talk to myself to make sense of this shit. 'Cause other than that, I would be crazy. So yeah, that's there's some other things that are going on with the church and the Pope and all of them right now, but all of it is bad, you know what I'm saying? So I already told you what time it was when it came to that institution, and I don't have to repeat it. All you got to do is just watch the receipts. In the celebration of the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe, the Pope said that the Virgin Mary invites us to leave behind all of the prejudices and fears that populate our hearts and to trust in the true God for whom we live joyfully and confidently, directing us to reaffirm our belonging to the Lord. In 2031, it will be the 500th anniversary since the appearance of Mary to the young man in Mexico. So a year after the 2030 agenda is achieved, right? They're going to celebrate the 500th year anniversary of an apparition appearing, and that being responsible for the majority of Latin America being Catholics today. You feel me? But at the same time, you know, what they are telling you is that Christianity is dying as a religion, and Catholicism as well, specifically. And it spells bad for them. So you could expect them to be on, their politics is going to go out of control because remember, the politics is tied directly to religion. And when they're speaking about things being liberal or moderate, what scale are they using as a metric to determine that, right? They're utilizing religion. Conservatism means conservative Christianity, right? Moderate means what? You are moderate in your Christianity, or what Christianity translates to in the political spectrum is American values. When they say American values, y'all, say it, American values, that's a euphemism for Christianity, right? That's a euphemism for Christianity. So U.S. church memberships fall below the majority for the first time ever, okay? So the majority of what they consider, because once again, this is politics, and politics and polling go hand in hand. So they're speaking about statistics. So 50% majority, this is democracy, right? So they're speaking about a 50% line. So it has fallen below the 50% line. 47% they were able to gauge in 2018 or 2019, I believe, is a lot lower now, maybe at 30%. Right? And they don't see no future in sight because the millennials and the Generation Z, right, are part of what's called the nuns, the NONES. They don't have no affiliation whatsoever. Right? They don't have no affiliation. So how are you going to reverse the trend? So the people that are being born into the world now have no propensity for religiosity whatsoever, or a very small percent. So nothing barring a apparition miracle such as the the appearance of Christ or some shit like that. Nothing barring that is going to reverse the trend and help save the church. The church is a failing, dying institution just based on the statistical numbers of what would be needed to keep it alive. They don't have the numbers anymore. It's a failing institution. And they said post C-19, that put the nail in the coffin. Right? When the church got exposed for not being a essential institution. You didn't need it to survive. You feel me? You didn't need it. People forewent it. They were forced not to be able to get into it, to do it. And they came out of it saying, ah, shit. Maybe I ain't needed to begin with because, having these Sundays and shit. I used to have to rush home to catch football. Now I'm just like not going nowhere. I'm sedentary, right? If you ain't have to move, niggas ain't want to move. So that got exposed. Hold on. Let me see. Got a bunch of news coming. And yeah, we working still, y'all. Let me put this thing up. Because we are building out an apparatus. I can't speak too much about specifics at this time, but the revolution of media is about to take place. Hands down. Hands down. And if you like the way that we report and chop up the news and put perspectives, you know what I'm saying, in place where they need to be, it's going to be a lot more of that. It's just going to be, it's going to be in a format that can definitely be respectable and digestible. You know what I'm saying? Something that's out there competing with the best of them. Because we know that we got the superior narrative. But let's get a commercial from our sponsor. Go. Yeah. Get that. Yeah, nigga. Ooh. Goal works best when you are goal driven. Yeah. Let's get it. Goofy. Yeah. Fuck that nigga. Go for the goal. Yeah, that's a word from my sponsor, courtesy of Goldwater. Shout out to Goldwater. You know what I'm saying? Get on the goal. Goal for goal. That's the campaign leading into 2023. You should be goal orientated. We should not just be entertained by the soccer, but we should be utilizing that as an inspiration to set our goals, right? Kick them goals in the motherfucking net. Go for the gold. You know what I'm saying? Play on the world stage that's similar to the World Cup with your ideas, with your plans, with your concepts. You the dopest. You the most important. You know what I'm saying? You top notch. You feel me? Like, why not you? Why them? Look, this is so deep. Catholic collective narcissism linked to the exception of myths around child sexual abuse. Right? They say the caucasity that's established by these niggas to deny the shit that is so obvious to them speaks to the fact that they have their mentality's already been eroded by the fact that they dealing their fucking reality is based on a fairy tale. Their reality is based on a fairy tale, which leads to an unprecedented mark of narcissism. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, I got these niggas' number. Pope Pablo made one promise. I ain't even gonna repeat it. The prejudice that has been established, right, to thwart the reports from underage victims, right? The mentality that they had to develop to shut down babies and minors that were telling them for eons that they were being raped has developed an internalized form of narcissism that has spilled into the world. And what I'm saying is that this is the type of energy that has been responsible for destruction and desolation and empire. The same shit that the Pope is talking about. Damn these niggas. Even though sexual relations between priests and minors have taken place inside of the Catholic Church for centuries, the Catholic hierarchy was not always prone to fight against pedophilia in an official way, said study author Marta Marszkowska, an associate. So, mind you, niggas, right? Your Balenciaga niggas, pause. Like, this is the remnants of a culture being so embedded in Europe because of Catholicism that shit is a byproduct of it. We can't even go to the Luciferians and be like, yo, y'all is the main culprits of this. These niggas is borrowing. They're in the shadow of the church. They're second string. Them niggas, it could be accused of cosplaying Satanists, and the church can step up and be like, y'all my little niggas. These is my lynchmen. Like, they the ones. They the ones. You know, like in religion, how they be like, it's gonna, even like with Islam, they be like, yeah, the disbeliever, he's gonna get spanked. But the nigga who know and don't do this shit, oh, nigga, they say that your intestines gonna be boiled, and they talk all kind of greasy ways that you gonna burn in hell. Right? Your lot to bear is a lot bigger than a motherfucker who don't know. You the devil for real. If you disguising yourself as the good guys, and this is the shit that you doing in the name of God, you know what I'm saying? You sullying up the good name of God to do this backward ass shit. In contrast, cover up the scandal and protect the people in their group. Some of the religious suggested the children are partly to blame for being sexually abused by priests. For example, Archbishop Joseph Malkazi suggested that act manifested itself when a child is, oh, I can't even read that. It cleans, it searches, it gets lost, it draws another person into this. Ah, nigga. So this is what, in our research project, we aim to understand why people adopt such beliefs. But y'all gonna have to hear this shit. Because once again, these are the people, same as them ghoulish people that are running around telling you that they have the license, right? To have the audacity, the caucasity to say that they belong to the bloodline that has been given the divine right of kings of rulership based on divinity, based on blood. Right? This is how bad it looks when people are sitting in your throne who have usurped your home and your crown. This is how they get down. In your name, nigga, you still gonna be questioned for this shit. Like, damn, why you ain't gonna get them the fuck up out of there then? You know what I'm saying? You came to Earth to be a drill artist, nigga? You signed up for something else. Specifically, we aim to explore the role of narcissistic versus secure in-group identity and accepting pedophilia myths that shift the blame from the perpetrator to the survivor. We refer to acceptance versus rejection of those myths as to an understudied defensive mechanism that is aimed at protecting the in-group's image in the eyes of others. The researchers surveyed a national representative sample of 1,300 Polish Catholics, in which they were asked the extent to which they agreed with various pedophilia myths, such as usually children who say they were sexually abused by a priest or not feeling or not telling the truth. And when children get sexually harassed by a priest, it is often because the way they said no was, oh man, bro. But this is key, right? Observing this psychology is key, especially with you understanding the overtones of the conversation taking place in our society today about normalizing pedophilia, and why you have a tendency to feel that it's coming from up top, from a very powerful unseen force, where you're like, who on this planet can be the ones pulling the strings that gives these people such audacity to operate in this mannerism, literally with their genitalia hanging out in public, acting crazy around children, talking about we going to do this and that to your babies, right? What gives them the gall to operate in this way these days? You feel me? And it's because this seems to go all the way up to the very top of the people or the places that they're telling you is the institution on the planet that houses the seat of God. When he comes down, when he makes home visits, like that's his Airbnb. He's not gonna go to a hotel when he come here. According to them, they like, yeah, we got the house where his bed is at. When he pulls up, this is where he spends time, right? The Vatican is his Airbnb, and this is where this shit is taking place. You feel me? Where allegedly this power structure, or at least they're in cahoots. Like they like, yeah, we know them niggas. They up the block banging. Yeah, they name ringing bells out here. Yeah, we know them. Those with a high degree of Catholic collective narcissism agree with statements such as Catholics deserve special treatment. It really makes me angry when others criticize the Catholics, and if Catholics had a major say in the world would be a much better place. Those with a high degree of identification with Catholics, in contrast, agree with statements such as I feel strong ties to other Catholics, and being a Catholic is an important part of my self-image. The research also examined the role of siege mentality in a second study of 357 Catholic respondents. In line with their previous research, they again found that Catholic collective narcissism linked to increased pedophilia myth acceptance, while identification with Catholics was linked to decreased pedophilia myth acceptance, right? So I mean, what's being said here is kind of deep, and it speaks to a mental psychosis of the fact that you have to be batshit crazy to be a part of these institutions where someone is sitting there and telling you that this is the home of God, and the person is telling it to you is a rapist and a pedophile, and they're telling you about their weaknesses, and you are the one redeeming them when they're supposed to be the one redeeming you. And then you sit there and defend shit, and then you get in your feelings if anybody comes at it because you feel that it's so unfair and so unjust. And then you don't even know that the disorder in the world that you see is the result of Catholicism usurping the planet and turning it upside down. But yet you feel that the answer to the problems that you see is more Catholicism, more control. If we had more of a say, right? So they're saying that these people are clinically batshit crazy. They have a clinical diagnosis for this form of terminal illness, for this form of psychological damage that's taking place in the collective, the body politic of what Christianity represents. There's 2 billion Catholics on the planet. That brain that's part of that body politics is cuckoo, is Kanye. And Kanye embodies and represents what that disease looks like in real time, because he's a nigga who's talking about black Jews, who's also edifying the falsehood of a white Christ in the same damn time, running with neocons, talking black power shit. You feel me? Yeah, we are in the Twilight Zone. Officially. Millennials' religiosity amongst the rise of the nuns, right? These is the nuns. These is the niggas who's like, I don't want nuns of this shit, right? Keep all of that religion over there. That's the millennials and the Gen Zs. They don't have no allegiance to anything. If anything, these niggas is gothic, and they like, I pledge allegiance to the sun of the morning. Hold up. The rise of the nuns is the attention-grabbing phrase used to describe the increase in the percentage of Americans. I can't read that part. The research shows that between about 20% and 25% of U.S. adults are now nuns. And in the finding emphasized in many news reports that this percentage is higher among young adults than those who are older. One opinion columnist's recent article in Washington Post, to which I will return below, is titled, Why Millennials Are Skipping Church and Not Going Back. You feel me? These are the nuns, right? Christianity will not survive the next generation. The iteration of the next generation has not chosen religion. Their children of the immigrants, even who have been introduced to Americanism, have chose up, and they have switched their traditional religions for Americanism, which is the biggest religion in the world. I keep telling you that. So who needs religion when you got Americanism? You know what I'm saying? One cancels the other out, and they can obviously see which one is winning. Thus, the general finding in recent data that millennials are less religious than their elders as expected. Defined. Okay, they're saying millennials is those defined as being born between, I think, 1981 and 1996. Those are millennials. The other niggas is Gen Zs and, whoever else. You a millennial.
I'm trying to tell you that.
Okay. A second factor providing the context in which the generational pattern plays out is the overall religiosity of the population. Here, recent research shows a definitive change. As I noted, previous nuns are up across the board. And importantly, the rise of the nuns over time seems more apparent among young people than old people. Most of the recent reports on change in religiosity lump generations together. Looking at trends amongst millennials, Gen Xers, baby boomers, and seniors age 72 and older, but millennials represent over 80 million people in the U.S. and span a 15-year age gap. Man, that's a lot of people.
Generation is doing a lot of fucking.
Yeah, we said they ain't let them hold. They was laying down a whole lot of whoop. Popped a lot out. Shit. So, the children is not buying into the program. They're opting out of the matrix, and that spells very bad for institutions. You feel me? That spells very bad for institutions. So I don't know. what's going to keep this shit alive, what's going to push it into 2023 and beyond, other than Kanye, because he's going to do a disastrous job. I don't see people running towards Sunday service to sit with this nigga anytime soon. So who else is going to advocate, for this shit? And the religious right, they're going to paint that as a Republican Party, and it's going to go against the liberal left or wokeism, and it's not really going to come out looking too great. They're going to beat up on each other, though. But the generational patterns by which people return to religion as they age still appears to be evident. That's bullshit. Older millennials are more likely than younger millennials to have a religious identity, and older millennials are more likely than younger millennials to say they attend a religious service frequently. There are fascinating explanations, theories, and hypotheses for these trends, while we continue to see predictable variations in religiosity across the age spectrum decade after decade. You feel me? We know that this shit is breaking down and it will not survive. But the death blows are going to come from some very unsuspecting places. You know what I'm saying? The many echoes of Christianity's past, these are the things that are going to come back ultimately to destroy it at its base. There's some very interesting things taking place in the transhumanism arena as it ties into transgenderism as well. I've been speaking about this for a minute, and there's a lot more proof and evidence that is coming to the forefront that speaks about what the clear-cut agenda is and how it is playing itself out to a T. They have now introduced the artificial wombs. We're going to get to that. And this shit is detailed, it's laid out, and it's not something that's coming. It's here. It's here, right? The artificial womb factories are on the way. This article dropped today from the star and director of Dahmer, and they in here talking big shit, right? Big shit. He said that as a gay man, he felt that it was his duty in so many words, to do the script the way that he did it, and to make these individuals that were celebrated by being eaten, make them more human than ever, right? Yeah, nigga, so when you kill them and eat them and sacrifice them and ritualize them and put them on that motherfucking Baphomet altar, you know what I'm saying? That shit will resonate a whole different way, wouldn't it? He was like, yeah. And this shit got optioned for 2 seasons. I thought the story was over. They just signed this shit up for 2 more seasons. 2 more seasons of Dahmer coming. You feel me? Courtesy of the LGBT. And, the way that he wants to orientate these conversations around shit that we ain't got no business talking about right now, like, or having multi-million-dollar budgets to produce conversations around this shit, and it's like, nah, son. Like, the only thing people want to know is why you ain't pay them people's family. You know what I'm saying? And that's that. But they like, nah. They like, that's not that, because people voted with their views. You vote with your views. So they like, the people want more of this shit. So we're going to have to figure out a way to feed them more of this shit. And that's what I told you was the danger that was coming with this oncoming trend. And specifically, even with this article, they ritualized the article and said, oh, we did this shit on Halloween. What did I keep telling you that this shit was being ritualized for? So they put the Variety article, drops today, about an interview with the director and the star of Dahmer that took place on Halloween. And now they come out after the Golden Globe Awards hits, and they have been nominated and shit like that. So I'm like, bro, like, look, oddly enough, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, the interview later that day, oddly enough, it was on Halloween, right? Why that emphasis? Because it was 44 years this year since the Dharma story, the very fucking first human that whatever his story started, it was 44 years ago from this year. And it was also 44 years ago when the first Halloween movie started. So this year when it came out with the Jamie Lee Curtis shit, it was the anniversary, the 44-year anniversary. That's why they did the last one this year, right? And these were all of the signals that I continuously was telling you, there will be blood, there will be blood, there will be blood. Especially on Halloween, it's going to be bloody. And then we lose Takeoff, right? And these niggas is running around dressed as the Joker on Halloween. Joke's on you, Jack. And I told you because of that Scorpion full moon, we're going to be in scorpionic energy from now until the next 6 months. I don't care what sign we go through, and no disrespect to these signs. But I'm going to show you through these signs how these shits are going to be all overshadowed by scorpionic stories, all for the next 6 months. Feel me? For the next 6 months. Another pillar prediction. And I could give you a whole bunch of them that have just dominated the news narratives, right? All the way down to the vagina on the chip. I know y'all ain't missed that story. Yeah, that one was something else. So yeah, this they talking about how they had to get into character for this movie, and the actor never broke character. They said, you know, he was isolated by himself, but they kept giving him mental health checkups. You know, but he couldn't break character. He couldn't co-mingle. He was this terrible person, this monster that they said. They said that they weren't trying to, you know, make it about Dahmer, and they didn't even want nobody to dig Dahmer. Nigga, you humanized Dahmer. What the fuck is you talking about? That's specifically what you did. You made this nigga a rock star. Yeah, jazz is amazing. Yes, Miles Davis would be better than NBA Youngboy to Radio Frequency. So the Monster, the Dahmer Netflix series has been renewed, just like I said, for 2 seasons. You know, for 2 more seasons. You know, why ask why? I guess they did 3.7 billion minutes of streaming to set a record. Right, I think it's the second top, probably behind Squid Games. You know. All right, so what they say, the final season of Monster was officially the first season of Monster, they said, right? The first season of Monster, also followed by Life and Crimes of the Infamous Serial Killer. The 2 news installments will each focus on other monstrous figures who have impacted society, per Netflix. Monster proved to be a massive success, debuting atop both the Netflix and Nielsen streaming charts. It was also the #1 show on... Okay, so they're saying that Monster is the name of the series, I guess, you know, where they delve into diabolical dudes and make them pop stars and shit. So you're probably gonna get Ted Bundy or Kevin Casey or one of them dudes. I don't know. You feel me? Look at what somebody sent me and shit, right? We're gonna have a conversation, not now and today, but we're going to talk about the AI art. We're going to talk about AI prompts. We're going to talk about sentient AI. We're going to talk about singularity. We're going to talk about all of this stuff. So this is AI art. You know, people have been able to master the prompts. The prompts are the directions that you give AI in order to extract the desired picture that you're looking for. Yes, this is a picture. This is a AI generated art picture, what they're calling AI humans, right? These are called AI humans. So the AI is now creating, you know, renderings of people who look just like real people, almost like people that you know. You feel me? And the thing that I was speaking about with AI when I'm speaking about it's been able to capture an aspect of spiritual essence, that's one thing. When you capture the eyes in the picture, because the thing with the other AI art is it don't catch the eyes that well. So it's not catching the spiritual essence. It's catching the auric essence almost, but not the spiritual essence where it's like life in the being, in the entity. But these motherfucking series of pictures that I seen somebody sent me, it was capturing the soul of this, like this, the people had soul, because you can, the eyes, they was catching the eyes. Feel me? So yeah, this shit different. You know what I'm saying? And this is going to revolutionize a lot of things, not just art. It's going to revolutionize entertainment. It's going to revolutionize a lot of things. Oh man, yeah. But the AI art is profound. You know what I'm saying? It has reached leaps and bounds. You know what I'm saying? And one day, very soon, we're going to break it down. We're going to delve into this particular arena and really peel back some layers and see, what can be the possible utility, right, of AI art that we can utilize, I guess, for ourselves to say, yo, if how can we see it best serve us? You know what I'm saying? As a people, as a programmer, So again, this nigga, look, I told you this whole scorpionic energy is coming back, and then you're gonna see a lot of Phoenix narratives as well. Phoenix officer under investigation. Sources say he was making porn while working from home. So they was like, yeah, my dude, he was getting paid on the clock. You know what I'm saying? And then dude was going to Vegas. You know what I'm saying? His name was Rico Blaze.
Rico Blaze. Oh my God.
My dude, he was running it up. He was running it up while he was on the clock. You know what I'm saying?
Rico Blaze.
And he was uploading this shit to Twitter.
Oh my God. He already out of here.
My nigga, he gonna have a career after this and shit. You know what I'm saying? My dude going platinum. Yeah. Right? He said, sources said while he was on home duty, he had also been traveling to and from Las Vegas, producing, starring, and then posting many pornographic videos to a public Twitter page under the name Rico Blaze. You know what I'm saying?
It's hard out here.
It's hard out here, man. You feel me?
The teacher got fired because her students found her OnlyFans.
Yeah, the students found the teacher's OnlyFans, got up out of here. Like,
shit. The kids couldn't mind their business.
Kids couldn't mind their business,
They're not gonna do their homework, but they found my OnlyFans. So
how they found their way over there?
Oh, hi.
Oh, this one dropped, y'all. This is major. Hold on. Hold the presses. Hold the presses, y'all. This one is major. How did I not go through this one earlier? Look at here. Look at here. They have just dropped the scientific, unalienable. You can't even get around it. This research was so thorough, right? They pulled the bottom out of motherfucking fake meat, right? Beyond beef and all of that stupid shit. And in particular, right? I wish I had a I told you so button to hit. But this one specifically for impossible, right? The shit that I was saying, I was like, yo, I was not able to digest that food. My body did not have the necessary. And I learned this just from listening to my body. Right? Just from listening to my body, I was like, yo, my body cannot identify what that food is. Thus, I cannot produce the enzymes to break that shit down. Thus, I'm feeling it sit in my stomach like a brick. Thus, I had got COVID-like symptoms eating Impossible Burgers in December of 2018. We got anniversary coming up. Mm-hmm. That's right. Shit. You sure do. I met this young lady. I wasn't trying to convert you to veganism. I was just trying to show you the best we had to offer at the time without making it a mandated situation. I was going to let you do your thing.
Yes, you did.
But I had wanted to try the impossible out myself. So I found the spot.
You did.
It wasn't slutty vegan because I wasn't going on a first date to slutty vegan, you know. So I was like, I had found this spot. And they had that shit seasoned so right, I had to call the chef out 2 times. To be like, yo, you sure this is not meat? You sure you didn't send me like a beef burger out here? And he's like, nah, man. That wasn't no my... Yeah, so...
And they was the first restaurant to mandate the vaccine before you could come in when COVID hit.
Who was?
The restaurant.
Oh, yeah. They was mandating the vaccine?
Mm-hmm. In order for you to go in.
Oh, yeah, after. So we couldn't go back even if we wanted to. Mm-hmm. But what they finally said, they're speaking about it's called high phytate levels. There is a enzyme in the fake meats that the body cannot break down. So just the shit that I was speaking about yesterday about minerals, right? The fact that we are mineral deficient. They're not false advertising when they say that these particular products have these minerals or these nutrients in them. What they're not explaining to you is that you don't have the necessary enzyme to break down, right, these particular nutrients to get them. So you're not absorbing any of that shit. It's just, we're just buying cardboard to chew on it. It's passing through our system. We're not getting any nutritional benefit. Matter of fact, we're at a detriment now because it's leaching shit from us. You feel me? And Bill Gates gets to run off with a Billy. And the industry within itself is in the toilet right now on an investment level, right? Fake meat is in the toilet on an investment level. The industry is faltering and they don't know how to rebound. But the science of it says it's BS as well. They got to go back to the drawing board, they said, and deal with how to break down the enzymes of the phytates. Right? All products were high in iron and zinc content, but low in bioavailability, except the tempeh and the microprotein-based proteins. So they're saying pea proteins and tempeh. I think tempeh is like borderline soy, right? They're saying that they were able to extract from that, right? But the impossible shit, no. It's a no-go, right? Sandberg details that the microproteins did not contain iron, but relatively high amounts of zinc. Zinc absorption might be negatively influenced by the fungi cell walls, although it is yet unknown. Amongst these products, we saw a whole variation in nutritional content and how sustainable they can be from a health perspective. In general, the estimated absorption of iron and zinc from the product was extremely low, right? So the shit that we need to get out of these particular meals, right? If men get the zinc, that deals with sperm production and a healthy prostate, right? That is amazing for men. If women get the iron, that deals with what? Their blood. That's amazing for women. So if these products was given what they really are advertised to give, then they will really balance out, you know what I'm saying, as a population, what we're looking for and what we actually need. But once again, because of false advertisement and some very slick science, they're able to sell us on a false promise and make billions doing it, you know, only for this industry to falter on its face. That's crazy. The researchers say that although plant-based alternatives made from root vegetables, pulses, fruits, and vegetables have demonstrated a low environmental impact, studies showing textured plant proteins' impacts on human life are lacking. Right? So they said, yeah, the root vegetables, pulses, fruits, and vegetables, right? They have had an extremely low impact on the environment, but when it comes to nutritional absorption of these particular foods, right, that studies have shown that is very much lacking. KT does speak on this with the B complex and vitamin this and vitamin that, and how you got to get these particular alternatives and B12s, and the importance of pairing particular minerals together for absorption or for breaking down enzyme wise a particular food that you can get the nutrients from. Like I told you, they are false advertising by saying milk does the body good. Specifically, if you're drinking milk to get calcium, they don't tell you that it has to be co-paired with magnesium in order to unlock it and extract it. So to say that the milk got calcium in it, is that a lie? No. To say that you can get it from milk, that's the lie, because you can't break the enzyme down. So it's false advertisement. They learned from Edward Bernays how to tell a true lie.
Could it still have a placebo effect if people believe that that's what
It's some aspect of a placebo effect, especially if they're being marketed, that result.
Yeah.
But it's not real. The study explains that phytates, a storage form of phosphorus, are found naturally in beans and cereals, and when used for meat substitutes, they accumulate while the proteins are being extracted. Right? So this is the key to it. Give me 1 second. I'm coming. The phytates are the key to it. You know what I'm saying? What's taking place with the phytates and what's not taking place. And again, truth be told, there just wasn't enough research that was done on fake plant-based fox meat, or whatever that shit is called. It just wasn't enough substantial evidence and research. But these researchers are now on top of things, especially since there was a falter in the economic viability of this particular stock. That's when people start really digging into the records and shit and really start running you through the ringer. So thankfully they did it to this. And we're starting to get more clarity. Right? Mineral absorption occurs in the gastrointestinal tract. Once again, shout out to KT and Yaki and everybody else on a health journey that has been explaining this to us, in so many different ways. You feel me? They've been right all along, of course. Sandberg explains that the most available iron for absorption comes from meat and fish containing heme iron, which is very easily absorbed. Meat and fish also contain what is called the meat factor, muscle tissues, or amino acids, which stimulate the absorption of non-heme iron in the whole meal. Thus, there are 2 reasons for animal protein being superior for iron absorption. Also, zinc absorption is stimulated by animal protein, right? So this is definitely being written, from a different slant than you're probably used to hearing the news. And I'm not saying yay nor yay. Yay nor yay. Nay or yay. Yeah. Nay or yay. I'm saying do your research, because where I'm at with it is like you should know your blood first and foremost. You should want to know your blood and what coincides with that. Because the availability and how you respond to heme, period, you're going to have to get you some heme. And they were substituting, heme was a major substitute in Impossible Burger. That's what gave it the blood, But you're going to have to find a way to get you some heme if you're not getting it. You can't afford to ignore it. I'll tell you that much. Right? And I spoke about this yesterday, about the specific deficiencies that are impacting us the most as melanated people. None more so than iron. Iron deficiency, period. It's fucking with what the women are going through, with the men. It's fucking with our willpower. This whole concept of us being lazy and procrastinating and not moving at a whip. You know what I'm saying? That iron content. You feel me? Vegans in particular, that lethargic ass energy that you got, right? Got to get your ions levels together. Sabi's main product was an iron-based compound called Maya. Matter of fact, they built the entire institution off of iron. Hence the fact that the Barclay Center today is a rust-colored exterior. Hence the fact that they called the shit Ogun Research Institute before they called it the Usha Research Institute. And Ogun is the Yoruba god of iron. So everything was based on iron phosphate versus iron oxide. You know what I'm saying? Got to get that iron. Everything is iron, especially for melanated people. Sickle cell is a direct reflection of that, the lack of iron. You know, our people being anemic comes from iron deficiencies. You know, we need iron. So that's tied to that. You feel me? Interestingly enough, Brazil, the world's biggest meat exporter, is turning away from meat. You know? So there's a shift that's going on globally for a bunch of different reasons. You know what I mean? So the trends are moving and the trends are trending, but which way exactly they're trending to is still up for, you know what I'm saying? Yes, low iron definitely makes your body cold. That's where bodies get cold from, low iron count. Mama Pill has iron compounds identical to the ones that she created when she was working with Sabi. So you can hit her up at greenleaf-herbs.com. She got iron. Fig Tree, Sister Ma'ash, she still has the Maya compounds. Yeah. Not iron. Iron pills come from iron ore, which is iron oxide, and that binds women. So you have to get yourself a source of iron that's considered to be iron phosphate, which is iron that comes from a plant. Your body could break that down and assimilate it, right? It's bioavailable. The mineral absorption of the iron coming from a plant is bioavailable. You can absorb it. Whereas iron coming from iron ore that they put in those pills, that's gonna bind you up. You feel me? That's not helping nobody out. And that's all we've been given as a people for a solution. That's why we've never figured it out. Because then that could give you what you need. Again, Sabi introduced the African biomineral balance or diet or what have you, because there's specific foods and specific herbs that come from the continent and come from South and Central America that are high in iron content. You can't go into the supermarket and get iron. You feel me? There's no food in the supermarket in this region of the planet that sells you the iron that you need. And they've stripped the majority of it out of the soil, so you can't get it from the produce that's grown over here. Brazil joins the list of big meat markets that curbed consumption amid rising prices, sparked by higher feed and logistic costs and lower supplies as exports to Asia soared. Similar changes hit beef sales in Argentina and the U.S., which along with Brazil are the biggest consumers of the red meat. 1 in 3 Brazilians curbing meat consumption adopted plant-based fake meat as a replacement, up from 25% a year earlier. Such products are most popular amongst buyers that slash meat from diet for health issues, but are also chosen by customers hurt by food inflation. So here's the quagmire, right? People are moving from meat because of the cost, right? And post-COVID, because of the health implications, right? They want to get leaner and everything, you know what I'm saying? And just get their bodies in shape for the next thing that comes, because the next thing's coming, right? And then they go to the fake meat, right? And they're not getting any minerals, but it is satisfying their notion that they're either one, dieting or saving themselves from high cholesterol. You feel me? But they're not getting anything from it but the placebo effect, right? While Gates and them run away with the billions, right? So the investors are doing bad now because the stock is in the tank. But the industry, you would think that it was doing well globally, but it's not. You know what I'm saying? It's in total disarray. You feel me? It's in total disarray. So, what do you do? It seems once again that this thing is all the way up in it. It's up in the air, right? So I wanted to cover this. 1 in 5 Americans, nearly half Christians, believe that we are in the end times. I was just on Brother Rich's the other day. Shout out to Brother Rich, and I believe I'll be back on tomorrow. We were speaking about coming up in consciousness. We were always being fed this concept of the end times, and it's something that we took for real because our master teachers were pretty much the ones that were drilling it into our brains. And but when I step back and I think about it, I'm like, well, America and Christianity's always been, every year they live year to year, it's the end times as well. So we live in a society that echoes those sentiments and beat those drums of doom and gloom. They're always talking about these the end times. So according to them, once again, because they're interposing statistics, the fact that they're already looking at a dwindling population of Christianity and they are underneath the 50% mark, which signals the death toll, right? And the Pope just said the other day that he believes that destruction and desolation is coming 2023 at an all-time high, right? Now you find this polling done by 1 in 5 Americans, Christians here, that are saying that they believe the end times are coming, right? Or nearly 2 in 5 Americans, including, right, a high amount, the both Christians and the religiously unaffiliated. Okay, all right, we are living in the end times, right? At 58%, the majority of respondents did not say that they were living in the end times, but approximately 4 in 10, or 39%, said they believe they are. So more people said that they weren't. You know what I'm saying? About 40% people said that they feel that they're living in end times. But if you're a Christian, how could you not think or believe coincidingly with the book? What are you, independent of scripture, nigga? Like, I don't get it. Or you just don't know how to read that shit. So how could you interpret it for yourself? Matter of fact, what's your master teacher or your preacher telling you? I thought that they left that shit up to the church. See, the study further broke down the statistics to determine that 40% of believe that the end world would bring about the return of Jesus, right? So how you don't believe that it's the end time, but whew, okay. These are some interesting times that we're in. You feel me? These are some interesting times that we're in. And Lakes of Somerville Village, GA, shout out to them. They're building out land here in Georgia, sustainable eco villages for melanated people, presumably that want to live off grid or do their own thing. And I saw them post this the other day. Guess who will never be affected by inflation? CBDCs, digital IDs, medical segregation, lockdowns, global debt, corporate media, the Amish. You feel me? The people who still got the horse and buggies. You do know at any given times, you can opt out, right? You do know that. You do know that for the most part, you have the ability to exercise that option. At least the majority. Some people are binded, in soul contracts they can't shake themselves out of. You feel me? And they're not gonna get up out of here, you know, by rescinding any of them. But there still are others that can break free still, and run like Will. Some of you could break still. Let me get this ball together. Some of you can break free still and run like Will. Dig what I'm saying? Emancipation? And they snubbed him at the Golden Globes, which means that he might get snubbed at the Oscars altogether. But I'm like, nigga, you ain't want to win no award for that. I know you. Hope you did. You took that role, Will, to win an award for that shit. You wanted to play a slave that bad, that good. You wanted to play a slave that bad, that good, that you wanted to get a motherfucking award for it and stand up there on stage and accept that shit and say what? You did that to do what? To tell whose story? Anyway, yeah. So, and the Amish still be mobbing. Like they still had a show on TV and shit. They still ratchet. They got their ratchet elements. I think it was murder. They catching bodies. They spin blocks in buggies. So just because they got buggies don't mean that they don't spin blocks. Y'all seen the show, right? They were spinning blocks and buggies. They got the Amish mob. they got an Amish mafia. But they ain't have C-19 though, so you feel me? They ain't get C-19. You know what I mean? So you can opt out and do your own thing. Yeah, 32 billion missing FTX. Check this out. And I wish I had the screenshot, but I'll bring it if we do this later. 36 trillion missing from the bank. Okay, did you hear me? 36 trillion is missing off of the motherfucking bank ledgers. Now, this is a global bank. This the bank of all banks. Right? It's the bank of all banks, but they're missing $36 trillion. So don't let FTX be the motherfucking distraction. Yeah, he fucked up billions. You feel me? They all fucked up billions this year. Did you see them? Did you see what Zuckerberg done? Did you see what Musk did? Did you see what Bank Friedman did? But y'all complaining because Kanye fucked up $2 billion of his own dollars. But these niggas collectively have fucked up at least $1 trillion this year. And they still get to laugh. Nobody's getting canceled. Everybody still got their accounts. You feel me? And nobody's none the wiser. And everybody gonna have, or the majority of the people gonna have to pay for it next year. Right? Because that's going to be an accounting disaster come 2023. Yeah, I spoke about this the other day, and we could have a conversation, not now, but at some point, because I coined this phrase as it pertained to relationships, and then I got a whole article on it. And this shit happens so much, I can't even complain no more, right? How to know if your partner is quiet quitting on your relationship. I'm going to talk about that. How to know if your partner is quiet quitting on your relationship. This one's gonna be deep. We'll tell some secrets. Ways that you can look for shit going on in your own situation. Quiet quitting on your relationship. You know, it says a lot of that going on these days. Different reasons, I guess. Yeah, it would be remiss of me if I wasn't to overemphasize, the fact that there is going to be financial turmoil next year, and that's not beating the 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 drums of doom and gloom. That's just saying that it's definitely time to get situated into something that's considered to be financially secure. I spoke about Novatech earlier. No use of owing debt. Get you some Novatech. Shout out to Dr. Phil Valentine. He spoke about it first that I saw him in public. I didn't move at that time right away when he was speaking on it, but I did. I have followed up, with another team member and got into it, and I have received amazing results, And there's about 3 other systems that I can look at, with about 2 of them specifically being something that I can say, I'm like, all right, that's going to be recession proof, but you got to look to tie into something that's commodity based. And back to what I've been saying, those commodity based should be a crystal currency. You know what I'm saying? And anything mineral based can fall into the realm of crystal currency, as well as gold, silver, nickel, copper, palladium, platinum, rhodium, cobalt, coltan, tin, nickel, all that stuff. Right? But there's a play, though, that's out of this world that, really organizes all of those assets and commodities into something that you can really see, engage in real time to see how it moves through the market. It's way too much for me to explain just in one sitting. But, this is the time that you got going into the new year or the next quarter. You should want to know how you're going to, survive the turbulence of what may be coming forward next year with a financial collapse. You feel me? Because, it's coming. All of the signs and the signals are pointing towards something unprecedented, taking place that will have an effect, on the system in the way that they are aggressively attempting to move towards the CBDCs and central bank digital coins and dollars and everything. They're putting a lot of measures in place to catch people with their pants down, So if you don't want that to be you, you're going to have to prepare, position yourself to make you some moves to get up out of that situation. And that's real spill, we'll have that conversation. China brings a World Trade Organization case against the U.S. Remember, this is the shit that I was telling you about with China and the U.S. and what they're going through with the chip war, right? The fact that the U.S. they did a chess move on China when they changed the designation of citizenship in their codes and their ordinances, right? They did an amendment to the codes of what a U.S. person means, or U.S. citizens that's abroad doing business, and they had to choose their country over their company. And all of the semiconductor chip industry overnight left China and came back home to the U.S. and took all of the technology with them, and they bankrupt the semi-chip industry of China. Now, China is, they can't do business without the chips. So they disrupted their entire economy, and you wonder why they got the whole country on lockdown going through those aggressive measures right now, because nothing works. You feel me? They're not telling the world that it's really that part, that they're sending people to assemblies and factories and shit like that, and nothing is operating the way that it's supposed to. And they couldn't fix it if they wanted to because they can't update the chips. So now they putting the repressive regimes on the people, trying to keep them locked in while they continue this semblance of power, because everyone has to look like they're in control. Remember, the people was rioting in the streets in China just the other day doing some shit you never heard. And now you don't hear that narrative no more. Now it's the whole shit is on lockdown. They on zero COVID restriction. They dragging people in the streets. No, they're suppressing dissension. And they're also tightening up their social status system. You feel me? And they're showing everyone else how to do it. So they're setting a precedent. They're doing the same thing everywhere that they're rioting. They did it in Iran, right? They're doing it in Russia, right? Because they was turning up on Putin out there too. So China initiated a dispute against the U.S. and the World Trade Organization over Washington's sweeping semiconductor export curbs. And this affects the race for the quantum space, right? Shout out to Red. I had seen a post that we put up. He put up like 6 or 7 years ago. He was talking about the race to quantum supremacy. And that's exactly what they're dealing with, you know, quantum supremacy. Who could get to space and colonize it first is he who wins, you know. So they've been impacted in that quest, in that race for quantum supremacy. The byproduct of quantum supremacy is definitely going to be, yeah, you get access to all of these cool technological advances and shit. Yeah, the real technological advance is getting into space and getting the minerals. The minerals. You feel me? It's about the space races for minerals, for the asteroids. Trillions and trillions of dollars that you can get, you know what I'm saying, by hitching by getting on them them asteroids and mining them for minerals. Right? The world's first artificial womb facility, right, is a creepy glimpse into the future of pregnancy. Artificial womb facility, okay? 2 generations at the most, my niggas, is what we got on paper, you know, on paper. I'm not saying that that's guaranteed, but I'm telling you, agenda-wise, this is what they're pushing towards. So I know that you got a better plan and you executing that shit and you don't get no sleep, so I ain't talking to you. You feel me? Everybody else, though, they got an agenda. They got an agenda. Ectolife able to grow 36,000 babies over 50 years. Oh, but it didn't say, you know, I can't read that last part. 36,000 babies a day, would say a month, a year. He said the facilities would allow infertile couples to conceive a baby and become the true biological parents of their offspring. Yeah, right. Yeah, right, nigga. That's what you say on paper. That's what the surface use of it is for. And the rest of it is to use all that motherfucking blood y'all sending to get your genes and your DNA. They about to coagulate and create superhumans in the... Yeah, you thought a straw man was the issue. Hashim said it offers a solution for women who had their uteruses surgically removed due to cancer, so they're going to appeal to that. You got scarification, nigga cut out your clitoris, you got your womb removed, you got plastic breasts, oh, we got you. This motherfucking artificial womb, you know what I'm saying? We just going to scrape off your cervical wall, right? You plop something in a cup, we going to throw it in the centrifuge, put some whipped cream together, slap it on some avocado toast. Niggas on your way. You know what I'm saying? You niggas be a chia pet humans, like chia humans. I'm sorry. My lady said Scorpios are laugh at the most unfunny shit. I was helping you out.
Putting words in my mouth.
You want to tell them what you said, Ben? You want to tell them what you said? Because I was trying to help you out.
What you mean? That you wasn't funny?
My Scorpio jokes is not funny.
Don't try to wrap all the Scorpios into. Don't try to get all this gang on. I said that you was not.
Alright, chill. I'm on live.
You wanted me to say this.
Right. He said, every single feature mentioned in the concept is 100% science-based and has already been achieved by scientists and engineers. The only thing left is building a prototype by combining all the features into a single device. In terms of time frame, it really depends on the ethical guidelines. Right now, research on human embryos is not allowed beyond 14 days. After 14 days, embryos must be destroyed due to ethical concerns. So that's where they at with it. You know what I'm saying? That's where they at with it. You know, they want to push forward with these bioengineering facilities, and you know, the facility features 75 highly equipped labs, with each able to accommodate up to 400 growth pods or artificial wombs. Every pod is designated to replicate the exact conditions that exist inside a mother's uterus. A single building can incubate up to 30,000 lab-grown babies per year. Right? The pods are equipped with a screen that displays a real-time data on the development progress of the babies. The data can be viewed via a phone app. Okay? So you can get apps on the baby, babies on the app. I mean, you getting penis on the app and box on the app, swiping right and swiping left. Now you can swipe and see what the product of that shit is on the app. You know, and be like, nah, I need more phosphorus, more zinc, up the iron quotient. Hey. Because babies are thought to recognize language and learn words while still in the womb, Ectolife growth pods features internal speakers to play a wide range of words and music to your baby.
The island.
Yeah, the movie The Island, right? Michael Mann, he did that. We're gonna watch that. The Island. Yeah, man. Yeah, we in them times, man. Communion, a true story, right? This is about aliens. It's about aliens, man. Yeah. I wrote this article. This was 9 years ago, you know. It was 9 years ago, about how the community was so unready to speak about extraterrestrials, you know. And we love playing with these concepts and ideas, and we're still stuck on race and religion, and we're not even ready for this conversation about these intergalactical beings, you feel me, that are amongst us, you know. And yeah, just like right here, I find it very ironic. You see it right here? This was from 15 years ago, and I was writing this article 15 years ago today called Hip Hop Rules in Morocco. You feel me? And I was writing this article back then about how hip hop artists in Morocco were utilizing the platform to make it a protest music. It was the only medium that they had to voice their dissent and their discontent with their politics, you know, with the aggressive Arab rule influenced by the French colonization, you know, of North Africa and that region at that time. This would even be before what we seen in Libya, you know, blatantly showing the whole world how they really felt about the African, the melanated one in particular. They got him in slavery. They got him in torture chambers right now, today, in Libya, as we speak. You know, nobody talked about strapping up and spinning the block and going over there and saving our brothers and sisters. You feel me? Niggas turned that. They swiped left. Long time ago. And that shit was on social media TV for everybody to see when they was talking that ultra black shit. But at the end of the day, what does it come down to? Pan-Africanism is being achieved through a medium called sports. So this game that takes place tomorrow, the coach who was born in France but who is a Moroccan captain is looked at as one of the most Pan-African Africans at this point. Ask yourself how that is, my niggas. I'm not the one that's going to explain it to you. The team itself is looked at as a major symbol in that region for Pan-Africanism, right? Because Pan-Africanism in Africa does not mean what Pan-Africanism means in America necessarily. Again, these are terms, and these terms interchange when you get across the ocean and other places. So you have to have a geopolitical literacy about, what's being said when you hear these terms, because you can hear it. Pan-African, and you can think it's some RBG shit, and it's not. Not necessarily. They're speaking about African and Arab unity and what it means to that region, and their pro-Palestinian alliances, and the fact that they're pushing back against the tyrannical Israeli forces, that everybody over understands what the Jewish people mean on that side. Yeah. So I just find that ironic. 15 years ago today, I was speaking about Morocco, and I'm back at it now. Shout out to Morocco. Yeah, they really need to do that thing. And before I end, I want to give a rest in peace. This was a journalistic hero of mine. This was an inspiration. This is somebody whose work we should all aspire to, especially if we consider ourselves decoders, researchers, even if we consider ourselves, once again, revolutionaries or people who love our people. We should all know the name of Gary Webb. You feel me? And Gary Webb was the author of Dark Alliance. He was the reporter from the San Jose Mercury News. He was the reporter to crack the case on the CIA's involvement in crack cocaine. Okay, and he gave his life for telling the secrets ultimately that killed him. Okay, they clipped him, they silenced him, and they killed him. But he left behind an amazing book. So if your book collection consists of Behold a Pale Horse, then you need the Dark Alliance to finish that. It's an anthology, like one complements the other. If you felt that the Behold a Pale Horse was an eye opener, and it just gives you the backstory, the Dark Alliance gives you the modern day story that you can pick up, and you can pick up where you left off with with the Behold a Pale Horse. Because Behold a Pale Horse, if you read it the right way, it's gonna explain to you the Nazi influence in the OSS. This ultimately comes to CIA, the Bush involvement in it, right? From Daddy Bush, from Prescott, how he had his foot in the dope trade during the opium wars back in China and India, right? And then the son was involved in the CIA. Then he gets involved in running crack cocaine. And this is where the book picks up with the Dark Alliance. A wonderful way to intersperse these narratives and these conversations, to interconnect them, to put extra context on top of them, especially if you're a reporter and you want to get the brevity of these stories, right? Read the Dark Alliance. You can even watch documentaries on it. I'm sure that you can find an audio book. It's the preeminent book that ties in, right, the CIA and crack cocaine, especially during the time of Pablo Escobar. Because you niggas love that, right? You could go and read all you want about the Medellin cartel and the Cali cartel. It's all in there. And then you can juxtapose it by looking at the whole interview that, what's his name? Unique Mecca Audio is on an individual. Now, normally I would not recommend DJ Vlad. or Vlad TV. But as a journalist, there's just certain stories I can't let get by me. And this interview series that he had with Unique Mecca Audio it was done by Cavario. Shout out to Cavario, right? I would say watch the BMF documentary and then go and watch the whole Vlad interview with Unique Mecca Audio. And then go back and listen to Gary Webb's book about the CIA. And then at some point, because there's no movie about it, but there's a book called Black to the Roots. Shout out to the Ross that wrote that. I forgot his exact name, but Ross Ben's company is the one that published it or pushed it out. And Black to the Roots speaks about the CIA involvement in the death of Bob Marley and the destruction of black music, in particular reggae in the 80s. Right? And this also is the book where he explains about the white paper that the CIA wrote in the early 70s about destroying black music. And they elected to get a Harvard graduate named Clive Davis as their hitman to do that. And he first started with CBS Records with Gramble and Huff out of Philadelphia. And he systematically was able to destroy the music by synthesizing it and bringing in computerized instruments as opposed to live instruments. And all of this came by recommendation of a white paper that was handed down from Harvard. They strategically and scientifically studied black music and how to take the soul out of it because they said it was too revolutionary. Okay? And you can find that in that book. And that book also gives you the back history and the backstory to the Shower Posse, right? And the role that Jamaican politics, not only the role that the CIA played at the time of infiltrating Jamaican politics and destroying reggae music and ultimately killing Bob Marley, who they considered to be a threat, right? But now it also explains the Roman Catholic influence on the roster, the young youth at the time that got moved and involved in political organizations, right? These children who ultimately become weaponized children soldiers, if you will, okay? They're the ones that are now sent to Miami and then by way of New York, by way of the Shower Posse. They not only introduced the violence into the crack game, but they introduced crack itself. And that is often attributed to Freeway Ricky Ross, if you let Gary Webb tell it. But the Shower Posse and Vivian Blake and them had crack cocaine in the Bronx back in 83. Right? And they would not establish a West Coast to East Coast pipeline bringing crack over. That's not. Black to the Roots is the name of that book about Gamble and Huff. Black to the Roots. Right? And Gary Webb's book is called The Dark Alliance. Right? When he laid the whole story out about Freeway Ricky Ross and the CIA and the Costa Nostra, the ones in Nicaragua, the Contras, and all of that story, the Iran-Contra scandal, the whole crack cocaine, the whole shit. He gives the whole history, the whole shit. You feel me? An amazing book, an amazing read, whole lot of receipts, an award-winning journalist who got destroyed and castigated by his own industry for telling the truth. He got castigated by the communities, for even trying to bring the light to them that they were all, compromised by the CIA initially. And then the community got mad, and I think there's a famous episode on one of those talk shows when the CIA director came to the hood to hear the grievances of the hood and everything, and they told people flat out lies to their face that the CIA ain't have nothing to do with crack cocaine. And the niggas went back to selling crack. So, these stories and these histories have been laid out And this is definitely a journalist who gave his life to tell the truth, to stand on truth during a time when it wasn't popular. You know what I'm saying? He sacrificed for our people, by exposing, this biological chemical warfare that had been enacted on us by our government, right? We were collateral damage in the war against communism ultimately. And in the fact that, we gave them a black eye in the late 60s, and they had to respond to that. And, the decision was destruction. The decision was to go to war, send those young men to Vietnam and arrest them, put them on drugs. And whatever's left over, create a underclass, you know what I'm saying, that you can create a pipeline to prison and destroy them in slavery, Well, the plan was already in motion after the mid 60s when they came out with the PDF called The Negro Family by Patrick Moynihan. And he said, pull the plug. He said, we could do with these niggas. They don't have men in their homes anymore. And a household led by women is destined to fail. So he's like, we can't put any stock in Black America. They're a failed experiment. And this was a Democrat. And then they came up with all of that legislation called the Great Society, welfare, Head Start, WIC, all of those government programs came after that report. So it was already under, the death toll for them was already underway. And then these factors just exasperated it. It was probably, it was all part of the plan to begin with. It just, everything just lined up. It was just all alignment. It was all the alignment for the master plan. And now we're living in their master plan and don't even identify it. You know what I'm saying? And our culpability of living in their master plan and making something out of nothing, speaks to our magic, but it also speaks to our culpability at the same time. You feel me? So you lose for winning. Right? You lose for winning. Case in point, they throw somebody like, millions of us was thrown into the dragnet of what this thing created, right? And a few people get through. We got, we could say Big Meech got through because he's still alive, right? Even if he's doing 30 years. This nigga's still a folk hero. He got a TV series, documentary series, a whole movie coming out. You know what I'm saying? He's going to come home to multiple millions, right? And he's legendary. His name is in the rolls. He's cemented. Then you got Jay-Z, and he's a billionaire, So he won, but you're going to lose for winning because the trajectory, the way that he got there is always going to be the blueprint. You feel me? And very, you know what I'm saying? You take a dude like LeBron, and LeBron say, yo, I was inspired by Jay. That was his main inspiration coming up. So this is, he hustled in basketball how Jay would hustle, you feel me, in his environment, in his dynamic. And that was a wonderful way to draw inspiration from somebody on the surface, but not necessarily participate in what they do, but apply it to your field and your hustle and touch billions as well. But the majority of people that are going to be looking to replicate that success are going to say, oh, this dude defied so many things that y'all is telling me won't work. I think I'm going to go with the winning model and do this. You feel me? Jay don't got to be a billionaire like Bill Gates. And he don't even have to be a billionaire at this point. Because you niggas seen how you act just by that word alone. And what you're willing to do, what you're willing to let pass, and what you're not willing. Kanye showed you that. Right? He wasn't a billionaire either. But that didn't stop you from allowing a nigga to go crazy on you just because he got some money. He could say whatever he want, act however he want. And he's exploiting the rules. That's how that shit works. So Jay don't even got to be a billionaire. If he's in part of a billionaire conversation, that's enough. You feel me? For him to be inspirational and aspirational for the majority of Black America, where these young men are going to say, this is the shit that I need to do if I want to replicate that success. Right? You know that you're not going to get there selling CMOS and bagging it up in 1212s and shit like that. Nigga, you looking for a narcotic to get started with. Okay? Or a hustle. So you win for losing or lose for winning. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like you made good music about being a good drug dealer. And now you're a billionaire because of it. It's commendable, but goddamn. You're going to lose for winning, my nigga. You feel me? Because there's already been a million Jay-Z's after Jay-Z. And there's going to be a million more. It's just that their stories ain't end up the same way. You feel me? Their stories ain't end up the same way. So, you know. But yeah, man, that's it. I want to give a shout out to this my brother Majesty right here. When I stopped writing the news and I started recording the news and we started doing video journalism in 2005, you know, me and him started, well, he already had Street Knowledge TV, and I came in there and I started doing the interviews and being the host and shit like that. We was hustling out in Harlem during the daytime. You know, we would sell our fashion. We would be out there setting trends, and then at night, we would get that goddamn, this camera, you know. Still keep my gap with me everywhere I go. You feel me? We would get that motherfucking artillery out, and we hit them red carpets. We get them interviews popping. You dig what I'm saying? But yeah, we was in Harlem during this time on 125th Street hustling, doing what we do, across the street from Sadnetta in front of the Apollo. And it's like the more things change, the more they stay the same, because that's why I feel, I find myself going back to what I love doing, which is reporting, you know what I'm saying, and getting these stories. And, I love this format. I cannot continue doing this format like this because it's not formal enough, but it inspired me enough to really go back to what I love doing, because I'm happiest when I'm doing this. You feel me? Because what I love to do. One of the many things that I love to do, but it's one to me that has been most fulfilling to my spirit, because it's so much news at any given time that I probably would go crazy or crazier, if I didn't have a forum to discuss these topics. You know what I'm saying? So I'm honored and happy that I could do that. But it's so much work to be done that awaits us that I don't even have time celebrating the past. You know what I'm saying? I just use it for inspiration to look forward to what our present day calls for, and what our future holds and entails for us, to keep pushing forward, keep the narrative fresh, you know what I'm saying? Continue to find exciting and inviting new ways to disseminate information, stand on truth, be unapologetic, you know what I'm saying? Avoid suckers and sucker shit, just shoot from the hip, stand and deliver, stand on the truth and never quiver, you know what I'm saying? And that's it, let the pieces fall where they may. And that's it for today. Peace, love, and light. Hit the Cash App. Show some appreciation. $sign BLUEPILLAR44. Yeah, no. And yeah. That's today's spiel. I'll catch up with y'all. Peace.